Skip.
Alright bitches, we're making Runzas. It's very easy. It's just a basic yeast roll recipe. Yeast rolls are very buttery, so it complements the Runza very well. Runza's Russian, basically poor people food that farmers took out. It's just a bunch of shit shoved inside a bread roll and eat it out in the field. So, for this, I did some prep work already. We have a butter and milk mixture here. It's just butter, milk, sugar. I know, very self-explanatory. It's about half a stick of butter, give or take, half a cup of milk, and a half a cup of sugar, and a little bit of salt. We also got our yeast going here. It's a fair amount of yeast. As the name might imply, it's a yeast roll. All I've done here is just some water and sugar and about 6-ish tablespoons of yeast. Okay? It's a fair amount of yeast, and you actually want it to look like it just came out of a swamp, where it's all like bubbly and shit. So, right now, all we're gonna do is toss this. So for this milk mixture, you can nuke it to melt the butter and just go from there. Personally, I like using the little pot here, just on the stove. Heat's easier to control because you don't want it boiling, you just want it warm. So if you have an electric mixer, that's cool. As you can see, using a KitchenAid. If you don't have a KitchenAid, you can just manhandle it. Get those sweet gains with just a bowl and a bigger rubber spatula. Just do not try to mix bread with this tiny rubber spatula, please. It is a Herculean task. So we're just throwing all of our mixture here right into, believe it or not, the mixing bowl. And then you don't want a whole lot of flour, just a couple cups to start. Just so that way the flour can get established and the yeast can start munching on it. Nice and easy, about 2.5 cups-ish. This would also be the point where if you wanted any flavoring in your Runza, now would be the time. Whether you wanted parsley, oregano, garlic powder, onion powder, whatever you want. I'm gonna throw in a little garlic powder because it adds a little extra flavor in the Runza. So, grab that. Like a true champion. Just however many your soul feels like telling you. We tend to like a fair amount of the garlic, and garlic powder is very subtle. So that's why I did a little more. So I'm not gonna tell you how to work a goddamn KitchenAid. You can figure that shit out for yourself. Start it on low. That way you don't throw fucking flour all over the goddamn place. Alright. It'll start. If you didn't add enough flour, it'll look very watery. Okay? Which it kind of does. It kind of does right now. You're not looking for a pancake mix type thing, but to start out, it's like, okay, it's looking a lot thinner, so we're gonna go ahead and turn up the speed, or thicker, not thinner. So, at this point, it's just making dough. Those are all the ingredients. Just making dough. You don't want any kind of lumps or anything. The only difference between using the electric mixer and the rubber spatula and metal bowl there is number one, how much time it takes, and then number two, you'll have to knead it longer for just a mixing bowl and spatula. But that's more or less the long and short of it. Just letting it mix like this. The only other part of the Runza that you're concerned with is shaping it after all this shit is done. So, go to Walmart, you can get one of these, like $1.50. Yeah, America. Just cut it out. And then, obviously as it's rising, that would be the time to make your filling and whatnot, because it's going to take about an hour-ish to rise. Obviously the heat, the ambient temperature will make a difference. If it's lower than 100, like if it's a good warm, like, ooh, yes, like you yourself would be comfy in a shower temperature, like you would never want to get out. That's the type of temperature that you're looking for the yeast. So it's the same principle. We have ours set to about 77 degrees just hanging out here. This is a different loaf of bread that we're using, but it's the same principle. just covering it with plastic wrap, letting it rise. And then we actually secured it with some blousing straps that, like, $3. But obviously if you don't have access to base, then it's a little harder to get it pulled up. Not a requirement, that's just optional. Okay, it's gonna take a little longer if you don't secure it with anything, but if you do, it's gonna just rise nicer. So at this point, our mixture is looking very soupy, believe it or not. So add more flour. You just want a dough. You want a nice elastic dough. So do it about a cup, cup and a half, whatever your soul really feels like doing. We're actually doing a cup and a quarter. Walk. Again, slow speed so you don't fling flour all over the goddamn place. Alright, this is very simple, very easy to do. The only like long, tedious part about this is if you have a KitchenAid or any kind of electric mixer, is just waiting for it to do its thing. And then if you're doing the mixing bowl, again, the most tedious part about that is just doing it. So this is getting close to the kind of dough that we're looking for. Obviously, it's still got a lot of flour to mix in there. And if you ever add too much flour, don't worry about it. Just, again, if you're using a mixer, just pop that shit out, flip it over, and just knead that dough into submission, basically, to get all that extra flour. Because I can guarantee you, whatever excess dough that, or whatever excess flour that you have in here, the dough will suck up. And ultimately what we're looking for the dough to do here is to not have that webby shit at the bottom. We don't want that. We want it to come out off the bowl on its own. But as you can see, it's starting to move in like its own form. So we're gonna turn it up a little bit because we got that need for speed. And then we're gonna prep more flour. As far as the flour is concerned, if you ever look up recipes online, they'll say, oh, use bread flour, use bread flour. Fuck that shit. Use all purpose. It doesn't fucking matter. The only difference that I have found is that bread flour has a little bit of yeast in it already. But it's a yeast roll, so we're adding yeast anyway. So fuck that shit. So even though it's, you know, it has more of a form now, the fact that it's sticking that much, problematic. Again, we want it to come away from the bowl on its own. Alright? And as you can see, I put too much flour in and it's going all over the fucking place. That's why you want a nice, big, open, clean area. The clean part is important for the counters where when you get to kneading, because you don't want some like random tidbits from cooking that you did 3 nights ago to stick in your fucking dough. It's fucking nasty. You goddamn animals. So, but again, you can't really add a whole lot more. You can't add too much flour. If you do, it shoots out little sprinkles here, but then the dough will take it, and then as you can see, it's starting to come away from the bowl. So we're gonna turn that bitch up. About high heat. If you got a KitchenAid, hold that bitch steady because this is a fair amount of mass going very fast in a tight little circle. So we're just gonna let it go like this. Like any kid named Spencer, it's gonna go around in a circle reliving its glory days. So at this point we have our elastic dough. Now it should look a little more yellow than like your classic dough as we showed you before with our just basic French bread recipe. It'll be more yellow because of all the butter that we put in it. So, because science. I'm gonna turn this off because I'm pretty sure, yeah, that dough hook wants to fly off and kill me. So at this point, your dough should be warm to the touch, which is good. It means the yeast is very happy.
Aren't you supposed to let it go for a few minutes while it's beating?
You can. It doesn't really matter. Some recipes want you to just like, oh, just turn it to high, revolutions, and then just let it go, and that'll count for your kneading. Personally, I don't like doing that. It's not as satisfying.
It looks like it's still sticky.
It is still sticky. No matter what you do, if you're using the electric mixer, no matter what you do, unless you're a fucking god, it'll be a little sticky. So at this point, we're gonna pop that bitch out because we don't want any kind of stickiness, fucking salt bathe that, some flour on your fucking countertop, do whatever you goddamn need to do. The reason that we do that is so that way it doesn't fucking stick to the counter. That shit's nasty. And like when you're constipated, this will take a second to come out. And as you can see, there's still some stuck to the bottom here. That's fine. Guess what? We're gonna stick our hands in there, get that good white powder like any kind of rich kid on a yacht. That was a cocaine joke. Just fucking grab that shit, throw it down. Empty out your bowl as best you can. So we're gonna be using the same bowl to let it rise. And if anyone fucking bitches, it's like, oh, make a dirty bowl. Fuck them, who cares?
Wash it.
Wash it or just fuck them.
Oh, they'll
So
save
at
you
this
with the
point,
dishes.
For kneading, all you're gonna do is like, you pat it down, fold it in half, take your other hand, push it down like that. Don't worry about being too rough with it. We want it a little rough, okay? Like every BDSM bitch, it likes it rough, all right? So don't worry about it. I lean into it every time, coming into it. Use gravity to your advantage. If you're coming out here like this, lean back like this, you're not getting, yeah, you're going fast, but it's not doing anything fucking for you. Lean into it. That way you can actually feel if you have any lumps, which we don't. So, again, we don't have our bowl floured, which is fine. Get every HR bitch, also known as Pam, right? Or any kind of non-stick spray. Over the counter, spray it in there nice and good. Looks like that, all nice and shiny. Just like that. Top it off with some plastic wrap. Secure it with the blousing straps if you have them. If you don't, any kind of like Velcro or anything will work. Plastic wrap or not, it's up to you. And then just let it rise, do your filling, and that's it. I mean, once you do your filling.
And we'll come back once
once our bread is risen and gotten to a good spot, I'll go ahead and show you how to roll it out to a nice even thinness, because we actually want these really thin, otherwise you're gonna have these like monstrous fucking Renzas, okay? And I'm all for it, but calm down there, Soviet Russia. But yeah, so it takes about an hour to rise, and then
double in size.
We'll go ahead and beat that bitch down. All right, peace.
So what my husband forgot to mention, that you want to remember the size of the dough, because
Not necessary.
When you look for it in an hour, it needs to be double in size. That's the key. If it doubles in size, then you did good.
Like I said, an hour, it's fine.
Peace.